sleeping with a former student of mine and we are truly in love. It's been 10 years since I taught her, but my friends tell me it's still weird. So 10 years ago I was teaching a 6th grade English class, and like most teachers, I had a favorite. Her name was Kaylee and she was an adorable and incredibly mature girl. She was a very bright student, and I remember thinking to myself that when she grows older whoever she ends up with is going to be a lucky man. I think it was clear to everyone that she was my favorite, as I would pick her to answer questions the most, spent the most time helping her with assignments and so on. However, she was probably the only non-delinquent in that class, and I truly have no idea how she ended up in this class, or even at school in general. My fondest memory of teaching her is when she stayed in for lunch because she needed help with a math assignment I specifically gave to her. She was so ahead of the rest of the class I would give her middle school math to keep her occupied. At the end of the lunch when I helped her out, I blew an air kiss at her as she was leaving and she did the same thing back. I know it sounds creepy on paper, but it was honestly nothing more than appreciation for her as a student. I also want to add that there was nothing I ever did that would be considered creepy or inappropriate. I'm not weird. I remember being quite sad at the beginning of next year as Kaylee had transferred schools and was now in middle school. I didn't hear from her until about a year ago, when we reconnected through Reddit. I told an innocent story from my classroom on an Ask Reddit post, and it involved an incident with a fellow student from a class. She clearly saw it and sent me a DM, asking if I was Mr. S after I replied, asking how she knew. She told me that she was Kaylee. It was surreal. It was by sheer chance that we reconnected, but I'm so glad that we did. We quickly exchanged emails and started talking that way, reminiscing on old memories and catching up on life, as it had been around 9 years since I taught her and she was now 21 and in junior year of college. She was studying philosophy, and as someone who has read a great swath of philosophical literature, I discussed philosophy with her. We got into a Freud versus Jung debate through email. I honestly had no ill intentions at the start, but at one point I found myself asking if we could continue this debate over coffee sometime. She replied yes enthusiastically. When we met up for coffee, I was in awe at just how mature she had become. She was now a fully fledged woman, 21 years of age and very beautiful, with the brains to match. We got to catching up, and it honestly looked like we were a couple. By the end of our coffee date, I had began to suspect that she found me attractive. Before we parted ways, I decided to shoot my shot with her. I'm a single man in his late 30s, and even though she was my previous student, now that she is well past legal age, I truly saw nothing wrong with it. I asked her if she would like to go for dinner with me sometime, and she said yes. The next week we met up for dinner, and long story short, she ended up back at mine and we had intimacy. We went for 3 rounds, and it was honestly the best intimacy of my life. Before I continue there is something you must know, and that is I did not own her in any way, and there is no way I pressured her into this. Despite being in my late 30s, I exercise a lot, I'm in very good shape, take care of myself and have been told by many that I am conventionally very attractive. She slept with me on her own will, and there was no power dynamic and coercion involved. Anyway, back to the story. This intimate encounter of ours sparked an intimate relationship. We would see each other once a week or once every 2 weeks, and quickly seeing her became the highlight of my life. I started developing serious and intense feelings after sleeping with her a few times and I confided this in her, and she said she felt the same. However, she said that we could not be in an official relationship until at the very least she is out of college. So that's where we are at right now. We are exclusive, we do not see other people, but we are not a couple either. She comes over to mine, or I come over to hers roughly once a week. We catch up, watch TV, maybe go out to dinner, and sleep together. She's amazing. But one problem I have is my friend group. I have confided in them about this relationship of mine, and they all seem to be very hesitant about it. They all argue that our age gap, as well as the fact I used to be her teacher, is extremely weird, and some of them have even cut me off because of my relationship with Kaylee. It upsets me a lot, as these are the same people I have supported through thick and thin, and the fact they're willing to turn their back on me really does hurt a lot.